Hello everyone. In this week's course, there are mainly two things that you are required to do, which is defining indicators and choosing the right indicators. Well, let's talk first about defining indicators. As you've seen in the course, we're using a matrix like this one to develop indicators. The first thing that you will notice is that actually every indicator is answering an M&E question. So in this case, did we manage to train all the government officers we had targeted? This is very important because actually an indicator by itself is not useful for the M&E system. It's only useful if it's actually answering a need for information that you have. So in this case, I repeat the question we have, did we manage to train all the government officers we had targeted? We would have the indicator, and it's the percentage of government officers trained. And then we are defining the indicator. So here it's A divided by B multiplied by 100, where A is the number of government officers who completed the training sessions, and B the estimated number of government officers who are likely to be involved in the design and implementations of policies impacting rural livelihood. It's revised each year. And we also mentioned the frequency, which is actually every year. You can see here that the definition is quite detailed. It's also quite a simple derived indicator. How detailed should it be? Well, detailed enough for a newcomer to use them. Actually, your full M&E system should be available to someone who's just stepping in, either as a new M&E officer or as a project member. Once we have the indicator, its definition and its frequency, we start adding the sources. It's very important actually to be very detailed about the sources, because if you just mention the indicator you want to have but not the means you would have to feed it, actually the indicator may be worthless. So in this case we would have two sources which are quite easy to retrieve. The first one would be the activity reports of the program, where we would find the number of government officers who completed the training sessions. And for the second indicators, we would have a needs assessment, which has been performed in the design phase of the program, and which is slightly revised each year based on consultations with the national government. So the lesson to retain here would be that for all the indicators that are related to the activities and outputs, it's better to use sources that are very easy to retrieve, that are about the direct implementation of your program, and for which you can ask your colleagues to actually collect that information when they are implementing their activities. On the other hand, for the outcome and impact level, you can also use some data which is coming from your program's implementation, but you will also use sources such as surveys or case studies or interviews or that kind of things, and mostly you will keep that for evaluations or midterm reviews. So let's continue with our indicator matrix. Now we have the indicator, definition, frequency, and sources. And there is the latest part coming, which is finding a baseline and targets. Actually, defining a target is clearly the hardest part in defining the indicator, because for all the rest, you can use guidance from generic indicators or indicators coming from previous projects or program. But here you will have actually to make a guess, especially when you are at the design phase of your project or program, on what you can really do in this case. So here, let's say that we have a baseline which is 15% of government officers trained. We are explaining why we have a baseline of 15%. And we have a target, which would be that at year 3 we have 50% of the target which is trained, and 75% at the end of the program in year 5. It is very important actually to keep comments in the end of your indicator metrics, explaining your targets and explaining any other issue you may have with this indicator. So in this case, we're seeing that there are some transfers in among government officers. So actually, the target changes every year, and we also know from the previous projects that some officers are reluctant. They don't want to come at the training. So we know that we will never have 100% of people trained. And we are using the target of 75%. We think it's ambitious, but realistic. It's important to say that also because it gives way to the possibility to actually change that target in a few years' time if actually the conditions are better or worse than expected. So just a last word about how do you choose your indicator. Actually, it's a very iterative process. You would perhaps have a list of potential indicators. You have a list of many questions. You have a list of expectations from your donors or from the organization you're in. Well, you will have to make choices, and you make choices by asking a list of questions. You have a detailed list of questions in the course. Here, for the sake of this short video, we can just settle on 3 questions that you will ask yourself. First, what information is available? And when I mean is available, it means within your program, especially. If your program is composed of many projects, you should be sure to know what is available at project level or what could be available if you would negotiate and discuss with the project managers to get that information. When we say what information is available, it's also external information. Your partners may have information that would be useful for you, and you could then concentrate on the information that is not available yet. The second question that you can ask yourself is what information do I really need to answer many questions? Sometimes we actually have indicators that we can feed and we can collect the information, but actually it's not really useful for us, and then we should avoid the burden of doing so and really concentrate on the M&E questions that have been asked in the M&E committee. The only exception to that being the need to cope with external requirements from your donors, for instance, and sometimes you will have to use indicators that are not really useful to you, but that are useful to your donors. And the third question would be, what resources do I have to collect more information? And can I do it myself, actually? And resources can be your human resources as a monitoring officer, or the share of monitoring activities that the project managers or project members can have. But it is also about what you can do. I mean, you can, for instance, collect a lot of information, but not having the time or the skills to actually process them. In that case, you should be able either to schedule the use of external resources or find other information which is available to answer your question. One last thing is about the number of indicators. Well, our view here is that we should have the minimum number of indicators to answer all the many questions. And we know it's difficult to have a small number of indicators because especially when you have a large program with a lot of projects, you want to show all the informations, and you have a lot of components, and each component has its own indicators and each project has its own indicator. So the rule of thumb here is to really focus on the information the program manager needs to actually monitor the program and to implement it. And you will make choices. It's very important that you make choices. And we give as a general guidance that figure of 15 indicators that you should have. Why 15? Well, the main reason actually is that we as human beings are not actually able to use more than 7 or 8 information at the same time to take a decision. I mean, it's exactly the same when you are buying a car or a house and when you are actually monitoring and implementing a program. You cannot use too many information. We find that 15 indicators is often the sweet spot in the M&E system between what we can actually process as information and what all participants ask to be monitored in the system. Of course, your mileage may vary.